Hello, everybody. Welcome to Watch or Not with Jay and MJ's recap of HBO Max original series, The Last of Us, Episode 2, Infected. I'm Jeremy, or
Uh,
Jay.
did you forget who you were? What? It's
I am. I
early.
mean, I am Jeremy, and I am Jay. And I was spitballing that whole intro, and I think I just said a lot of words to confuse myself. But it's
Look,
fine.
you
It's
were
fine.
you were on top of it. Like first off, I'm MJ, but you were on top of it. You were like just boom, 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 boom. Like you had no stutter. You didn't trip at all. You just kept rolling. And then the last thing is, I said my actual name. Gasp.
See, and I think what's remember with the House of Dragon, like we got all of them wrong until like the very last one. I was like, finally, we got it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm starting that trend again. It has to happen.
Okay. I'll let
But
it
cool.
happen. It's funny.
Yeah. So hey everybody. Episode 2, Infected of The Last of Us. Wow.
It seems
This
like
is
I wanted. I don't know. It seems like it should have been like episode 4, as long as I've been waiting for it.
I feel like this show is going to be a I feel like as far as pacing, I do think it's going to be like a traditional Game of Thrones where it is deliberate. It is, slow moving. We
Mm-hmm.
are focusing on this set of people. Like it is going to be very deliberate. I think it's like the best word I can say.
I don't. I'm getting like I don't know. I'll wait to see, and I'll reserve my like 100% judgment here. But based off the preview for next episode, I'm getting season 2, or was it season 3? Which one was The Walking Dead where they were on the farm? Was that season 2?
Yeah.
Like very slow, like not much happens, and then all hell breaks loose. I feel like that's how the pacing's gonna go.
Mm,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
maybe
feeling.
so. Okay. Yeah, I feel the same. So regardless, let's get into it. So I wonder if this is going to be a thing um, every episode where, just like in the first one, where we flash back to 1968 and Big Head from Silicon Valley was hosting a show and we were talking about the um, the likelihood of another pandemic, and we had an etymologist. Etymologist?
Yeah.
That's wrong. That's a word person, right?
No, I think etymology is correct.
Yeah. um, mentioned fungal pandemics, and everyone was like, "Ha ha ha, he, sure, of course." And then we go right into, the show. So obviously we had the 2003, and then we had the 2023 or modern time.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, they did it again. Like they start off in Jakarta, Indonesia, in 2003, which in the first episode in the 2003 act, I call it Act One,
Okay.
block of the first episode. That's what we heard on the TV, right? They were like, things are happening in Jakarta, right?
Yeah, I didn't catch the name, but yes, it was in like Middle East area. They were talking about, I don't know if it was like a breakout or some virus, but they did mention there was something going on. And I guess this is filling in. I guess this is ground zero. I'm assuming that's what they're implying here with showing what
Yeah,
happened.
I feel like they're implying that as well. And we are like, we go, do we go into, I know that so we're in Indonesia,
Hmm.
and I guess the cops or the federal government in Indonesia
I would say the
picks up,
military is what it looks like.
yeah, picks up Ibu Ratna, who is the professor of mycology at the University of Indonesia.
Well, and the thing is, like, you walk in the very first scene and you don't even know what's going on. You just see two military or people who appear to be military personnel walk into a restaurant. They don't say a word, and the hostess just points to the back corner, like she knew who they were coming for, or like maybe they asked, they didn't show us.
They probably asked her.
And you just see the person in the back corner is like put their fork down politely and just being like, okay, there's no way I can outrun this. They're like, I don't know what this is. Because you can tell she was not expecting it.
Right, exactly. And then they take her to a lab, and she looks through a microscope, and she's like, "This seems weird." And she was like, "Well, this is the cordyceps,"
Hmm.
but they were like,
The solution
Uh,
that they were preserved in to be viewed was in a different solution than you normally would preserve them in. So, like the liquid you put on the slide was a liquid that you would use if you took a specimen from a human.
okay, thank you, Bill Nye, because I did not remember. I don't remember how they, because that's how she figures out like
Mhm.
how did you preserve this sample? And they were like, that's how you like. I guess she said either that's how you preserve human samples, or
Yeah.
maybe they said, or maybe he said, well, it's the reason we did it this way is because it's from a human.
Hmm.
And she was like, yeah, no, that's not possible. And they said, well, let's up the ante here. Let me go ahead and slide my chips in, and let's just show you why it is
I
possible.
mean, this scene like just screamed, "You say that? Hold my beer."
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly. And so they take her to a corpse and they put her in, the hazmat, spray her down, and I guess they're gonna let her like kind of examine this body
Hmm.
that they found, this corpse they found. We see it was shot in the middle of the head, in the forehead. As she's looking, she sees, the corpse had a bite on its ankle.
Well, because that's
Um,
where like the police officer, general, whatever he is, told her to start because that's where the bite was.
right. So through all of her, she's examining the body, whatever, and then she goes to look at the mouth, and she sees
Ugh.
the
Well,
the tendrils is what they're calling them, or what I'm seeing. The fungal tendrils, like she gets pulls them out of the mouth, and they're still kind of moving.
I'm gonna be
When
sick
she,
just
they
you
look
hearing
almost
talking about
like
it. Well,
they almost look like little worms, or like somebody had worms.
oh, oh,
And
just stop it. Oh,
she can I tell you that this bitch is supposed to be like
ooh.
a professor of mycology. She sees some shit, and can I tell you that this bitch reacted exactly the way I would have reacted. Like she looked at that, she dropped the tweet, and she was like, "Get me the fuck out of here! I'm out!
Oh, like
I'm out!
it wasn't like she
I'm
put it
out!"
down. Like no, she like almost threw them. Like get this shit away from me.
Right? She
Get me
was
away
like,
from
"Oh,
this.
repulsed. No, thank you. Like I can't be involved. Thank you, but no." And basically, they're like, "So, Professor Ratna, like, what do we do?" And we see this happen about 30 hours ago at a factory. And they said that, this person like attacked, other coworkers, bit a couple of them, whatever, what have you. So she's like, well, where are the people who were bit? And they're like, well, we don't really know.
There was like
And they're like,
it was like seven were missing, like or 7 or 14. There was like a
yeah,
larger
we don't
amount.
know. Yeah, regardless, we don't know where those people are. Like she's like, basically, did we quarantine those people? And they're like, no. And they're like, but we need you to help us make a vaccine or something. And she's like, yeah, that's not going to work. You have to bomb this city.
I mean, the fact that I'm shocked, I thought she was about to just start laughing in their face, like, vaccine, bitches, what you think this is? This is not the mumps. This is not the measles. This is a fungus. There is no vaccine.
I don't, and yeah, I think just looking, I mean, echoing what the doctor said in episode one, I'm like, if this happened, like, there's really nothing that we can do at that point. Like, there's not going to be anything we can do. And that's what she says. She's like, we can't do anything. The only thing to do, we don't know what those other people are. We don't know what's going on. This is going to spread. You need to bomb the city and everybody in it. And she's like, if you wouldn't mind, I want you to take me back home so I can be with my family. So
Well,
she knows what's coming.
and it's, I mean, she pretty much calls the airstrike, and she knows that. I mean, they're probably gonna take her at her word. So, like you said, she goes to be with her family in her last moments.
Right. And we don't know. And I actually do hope that they continue to do this on every episode, like give us like a little 5 or 10 minute like precursor,
Hmm.
because I like learning a little bit about the background of what was going on. So like we don't know if they actually did bomb them, or maybe they did say something in the first episode that we missed. But I like that they're doing this. I think it's actually kind of cool to give us that background before heading into the credits. What about you? What do you think it's weird, or do you like it?
No, I like it, and honestly, I would love, and I might do it myself. I would love if somebody would compile all like. So, for instance, obviously we have the precursor, like early talk show with Big Head, and then we have all the stuff from 2003. I would love if they would compile like each section. So, like you said, after everything's said and done, we can go back and be like, okay, did they mention that on the TV? So, I don't, but like, I would love to see if that overlaps. I'm sure it does. That's
Maybe
probably
so.
like continuity. They probably would do that. I would love to see that, but I love the little background information we're getting in each new that kind of like helped build up to this. Because think about it. Yeah, there's people watching the show who have played the game. They know what's going on. But you have to like
Yeah,
indoctrinate the people who haven't.
but we also don't know if these scenes were in the game.
True.
We don't know how much was given in the game. In my opinion, what I could see this being like is, and I could be, obviously I would play the game, so I could be way off about this. But to me, games like this, I feel like I feel like a lot of stuff you find is like you might find you might find a tape and then you watch it and it's like grainy and it shows you what's going on, or you might find documents. So
Hmm.
to me, it almost feels like these are the things while you're playing the game that you might stumble upon or you might find and read or see, and they're maybe taking those and maybe inputting those into the show. I don't know, or maybe it's fully just completely created and written for the show specifically, but that's where my brain goes.
No, I
Does that make
actually,
sense?
yeah, I like that. Like filling in where the game kind of like left you wondering.
Well,
Um,
not filling in, it could be, or my thought was like not filling in, but just telling,
almost
like,
like
oh, we found
retelling
this.
like a document in video form.
Right, right,
Okay,
right.
I like the
So
idea.
yeah, maybe so. If that wasn't the idea, newsflash for number three. Okay, I'm kidding.
Well, but so
So
like for the first episode though, I saw people going back and pulling literally like I saw this on TikTok, Reels, YouTube, all over the place. People were pulling scenes from the game. So like that part where they're in his apartment waiting to go in the first episode. That's
mhm.
almost like it's like verbatim from the game, and it's like almost shot for shot. Like it's very similar.
Hmm.
So I'm sure if this is in the game, someone will put a compilation together.
Yeah. So after all that, we come back to um, Tess, Joel, and Ellie, and um, the episode focuses very much on these three. Not very much, like exclusively on these three
Hmm.
throughout the entire episode. We don't really leave them at all. And they're in the city. Ellie's sleeping, and Joel and Tess are just watching her,
Wouldn't you
basically.
be?
Yeah, because they don't know what's going on. They're like, we don't know what's happening. Like, and is she infected? Is she not infected? Why is she so important to the Fireflies? Why did Marlene know about this? Like, what is going on? And they basically question her and ask her what's up.
Well, at gunpoint, nonetheless, that Joel just wakes
Yeah,
up and she like tries to get up and go, "What's for breakfast?" And he just points the AR at her, like, "Don't move, stay where you are."
right. So that's the thing, is that they see the bite isn't getting worse. The actually it's actually still healing.
Hmm.
I feel like at that moment we see that it's healed even more than the night before. And I could have my eyes playing tricks on me, but that's what I thought.
Well, and the water, like the rain running down, it may have looked it a little bit more streaky. So yeah, it may have been a little bit of like optical illusion. But yes, it does look healthier. Like obviously, you can tell it's fresh, but it's a decent age.
Right, right. So she tells so Ellie ends up telling, you know, Tessa Joel everything. Like
Hmm.
they're basically like, she's like, well, I can't really say, but I need to tell anybody. And they're basically like, look, girl, here's the thing. I think we're past that at this point. Like, you got to level with us and tell us what's going on. And she's like, hey, basically, they want to take me to a base camp west. I don't know any details about that, but they're working on a cure and they hope to find a vaccine. And this is where Joel and Tess are like, we've been told this for a long time. This is a legend. This isn't real. This is a myth. Like, there's no way that this is. They've been saying that for years. Like, they've been saying they can do a vaccine or find people for years. Like, I don't believe you guys. I don't believe this is what's happening.
The quintessential trope of every zombie apocalypse.
Right. And we see Joel is very much like, whatever. And Tess is kind of like, regardless of that, let's finish the job. We do have something we need to do. We need to get a battery and we need to go get Tommy. So let's just, it's not going to hurt us. We're already out here.
Yeah. Either way, like we don't like if we don't take her, we don't get the car and battery. But if we do take her, either okay, cool, she gets where she needs to go, and there's a cure found, or we take her and she dies. Either way, we get the car and battery.
Right. Exactly. So this is where I mean, so now they're really kind of journeying through Boston. You know, they're walking through. We're seeing, you know, that they're having conversations. We're kind of. I think this is the first time out of the whole, I mean, whole series. This episode one, like Ellie was really like this tough as nails. You know, kind of, you know, loves to curse
Mm-hmm.
apparently. And I think in this episode we see a little bit of vulnerability there. I think we start to see because she's never really been outside the walls a lot. She's like, we were told it's overrun and stuff like that, and they're like, well, you know, it can be, but sometimes it can be really exaggerated. Like it's not really always overrun, but just like any other zombie apocalypse thing, it's like it's not really overrun until you're overrun.
Well,
You know,
you start
like
seeing that she's a little naive. Like she gave us the example of like, oh, so there's not these things that can just explode and shoot spores at you, which they talk about in the post credit scene, kind of like alluding to what they were
yeah,
playing at. But then she like mentions the oh, but there's ones with then there's not ones with their head split open that see things like a bat, and then they both kind of like Tess and Joel go real quiet and look at each other like, no, those sons of bitches are real.
yeah, exactly. So they're really trying to make their way through and kind of explain things. I mean, and we do see a few things, which we know that which Joel kind of, I believe they end up on top of a building at some point, and they see a ton of infected like laying on the ground, and as the sun, or maybe it was either the sun or maybe it's a reflection of some sort, like as it rolls over, as the reflection rolls over the infected on the ground, they just like kind of move in unison almost in a way and kind of cringe or roll away from the light in like a really weird way. And that's where, you know, they explain, hey, you know, you hit one of these fungi, like if you hit one of these, like the fungi, if you hit a root, like a
Mm-hmm.
live root today, like right now, we step on one or hurt one, every infected is gonna know about it. It's like a mother. It's all connected.
It's hive brain.
And right. So good work. I forget that. So that's what they explained to her. Like it's hive brain mentality, and that is, you know, obviously very scary.
Well, and like so the building, I think it was the hotel they went into that they got up to like the penthouse to see because they were walking and they gave the option because where they were going, they were like, "There's two paths. There's the short way
Yeah.
and the
Hmm.
long way, and the long way apparently seems safer." But when they got to that hotel, I was like, "There's gonna be so many zombies in here, like in that water, like because of the floor, how it had the water in there."
Yeah.
I thought they
And
were
that's
gonna
where
get
she.
attacked.
And this is where we start to see Ellie a little scared. Like she's like, wait,
Hmm.
we're going in this. So I think she really is like, I do think it's that whole like, I'm tough, I'm tough, I'm tough until she's faced with something, and then she's gonna be like, I don't know what to do. Which I think we do see. I think she understands the gravity of it now because as a kid, you've probably been told stories. As she was saying, you've told all the stories. You may have seen a couple things, but you know nothing to this extent. And now you're out there, and you kind of really are like, oh, what the fuck? Like this is some scary fucking shit. And I think we're really kind of seeing like Tess really ask more questions to Ellie. And Joel is really still like, you know, very set on a goal, very let's go forward. And Tess is slowly kind of,
She's kind of being like a big sister, mothery kind of person.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. We're seeing like her maternal instinct kind of kick in a little bit. And I think that was, I mean, it's very subtle.
It
It's
was.
very, very subtle. But she is like, she does become like this voice of reason, which I guess she kind of was in the first episode. Like when Joel was angry, she is like Joel is Hulk and she is Black Widow. Like she's like, hey,
I mean, a little
the
bit.
sun's the sun's going down, big guy. Like she's like she's deliberate and she knows what she wants and she's vicious. But I think that she's also very calculated and she understands. Like she is not. She doesn't move on emotion, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because even in episode one, when she was caught by those guys, they beat her ass up. She was like, guys, just let me go home. We're good. Like, she is very much like, let's just chill. And that's her vibe, I believe. if that makes sense.
No, I agree with that she's very level-headed. We're like Joel's
Level
like
headed.
Joel's very stoic. He's very like you don't know what he's thinking. He's very he analyzes and he like does what needs to be done, but he's stoic and he keeps everything very close to the chest. Like he doesn't let you in. Where Tess, I feel like lets you in a little more and can kind of like read the room and have a little bit more empathy, which gives her a little benefit, especially when she needs to like, okay, let's figure out what the heck is going on with Ellie. Like why are you being sent here? Why is it Marlene have you locked away? Like what
Right.
are you? Joel's not going to be asking those questions. You saw later, like when Joel and Ellie were left
Yeah.
alone when Tess climbed into the penthouse, he was like, "Nope, no questions about me. Nope, no more of those. Nope, stop that." Like everything was like, "No, we're not doing this."
Right. I do think it was. Well, I was the only thing I was thinking this whole time was I was like, "Hey, y'all be quiet. Like y'all just out here just gabbing and talking and throwing out jokes and stuff like knock. Like what the hell? Like, do we not need to be quiet in this universe? Like, what the
Well,
actual fuck?
we find out
I
why we
mean,
need to be quiet later.
but they weren't quiet. Like, it's not why we need to be quiet. It's like why we gotta be quiet. I mean, I understand, but like watching this as it went through, I'm like, can y'all shut up? Really? She done fell into a piano, done played a whole concerto,
Uh
and
huh.
can't nobody hear any of that? Like, what the actual fuck? So that to me was like, this is really weird. But they get to the hotel, they get all the way up to the 10th floor because what they're gonna do is they're gonna go out the window and like walk a path up between buildings,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, but that path is where all like the swarm of these infected are.
Right. So, so yeah, as they're waiting for Tess to kind of find a way around, they do have a couple of conversations. You know, like where are you from? I'm from Texas. Tess says, um, uh, he's Joel's from Texas. Tess is from Detroit.
Yeah.
And when he shuts her down, is when he's like, when she goes, "Well, how did you end up in Boston?" And that's where he's like, "Yeah, no thanks," because that's obviously about his daughter, probably something along with that. And we learn later that Tess and Joel have done some not so savory things. We don't
Well,
know what yet.
I think it was funny because the next question after, like, not before they move on to the say everything, she's like, "So did you and Tess ever?" And he's like, "Nope, passing that question, not answering it."
Yeah. So, um, and this is where we get some information about the infected. Like, I think Ellie asked him, like, how long do they stay alive? And he said some have a month or two, but others have been walking around since the infection hit 20 years ago. I wonder how he knows that.
I was gonna say, I don't know if maybe because his brother's been in the Fireflies, if they have like a specimen they've been researching, or if there's one that's been locked away that he knows of, or I don't know. Maybe there's specific ones like we find like how they evolve or grow the parasite or the fungus. Maybe there's ones that are like the hive mind leaders that have like more capability to control some of the little like underlings. I don't know. Again, we never played the game.
My thought was that he runs into one that he knows, but I'm like, if he's in Boston, he's from Texas. That seems like a stretch, but I don't know. Maybe
But
so. We don't know
maybe
anything
there's
in
only
Boston.
yeah, maybe there's only like 5 big cities like that that really can be protected, and Boston's one of them. So a lot of people maybe ended up in Boston. Maybe.
Yeah. So yeah. Um, but and this is where Ellie starts asking the hard questions, like, do you think is it hard to kill them knowing that they're once people? And obviously the thing is like, yes, sometimes it's hard like that. But you know, this is and actually when they're going to this is where they kind of see the infected on the ground and stuff like that, and we learn they're connected and stuff like that. So, um, and this is where I love that. I think this is where Tess kind of switches a little bit because I think Ellie is still kind of trying to play like, ooh, I'm a little cool until Tess tells her like, hey, you might be immune from disease. So this is kind of cool. Like Tess is actually like in this situation has already decided. I believe her. She's immune,
Mm-hmm.
and she says you might be immune to this disease, but you're not immune to being ripped apart.
Yeah, there's so
Like
many other ways they can kill you. Like they may not be able to infect you, but they could
right,
eat you. They could like just demolish you, dismantle you if you want.
exactly. Like you're immune to the disease. You are not immune to being dead, bitch. So
But yeah, this and that's where after they have that like hunt of heart to heart, I know like the next thing they realize the long way, which was the safer way, is no longer an option.
right.
Uh,
Um, so
because
yeah, so then they have to go through like a different building, right?
yeah, so they go the short way, which is what Ellie she goes so short way, and I guess it's a museum is what I get, like kind of like a historical place that has. I mean, because you see Revolutionary Army,
Yes.
like memorabilia and uniforms on display, and you see and maybe even where the Liberty Bell was, and maybe or like because there was a bell he knocked over, maybe it was like a Liberty Bell like replica to show, but yeah, it was definitely like a museum that when they walk up to it, you see the fungus has grown over the door, over the building. It's covering everything.
Yeah, a lot of the buildings are like that.
But the door's open, which I found extremely weird because I was like, I mean, I guess not because obviously Joel and Tess know where they're going. They seem to know there's only two paths, this one or A or B. So maybe the Fireflies took this. So the door being open wasn't like a huge red flag, but I was like, does it always stay open? Was there somebody going in and out?
Yeah,
Like what's going on?
yeah. That's the question. And they obviously see like a new body on the inside
Mm-hmm.
or like a freshly killed person on the inside who's been kind of like torn apart. And this is where Joel and Tess like get serious and they're like, from here on out, like we are quiet.
Well, because
And
Ellie even asked like, "What does that?" I've never seen like whenever I got attacked, and I've seen people get attacked. That's not what they do. What thing did that to that person? Because that's a different type of
right,
wound. Like something's weird.
right. And this is where we learn this is where I knew the clickers were coming because I do remember from the game that that was really the only ones you had to be super duper quiet around were the
Mm,
clickers because they can't see but they can hear everything. As Ellie said earlier, like I heard there's infected that see like bats where they don't see in the dark, they can't see anything. It's all based on sonar
yeah.
hearing, all based on hearing. So they could be looking directly at you. It's the Tyrannosaurus Rex effect. Like he can't see you if you don't move.
Well, oh my god, good call out there.
You're welcome. You're
I didn't
welcome.
even
It's
think about that.
the T Rex effect. I mean, they can't see obviously, but like if you're, so he's like, so Joel's like, we are not quiet. We are silent. Were you silent or were you silenced?
Well, but but
Oprah,
but
Meghan
then
Markle.
and here's the thing, like obviously you can't be silent walking up old creaky wooden stairs. There's no way you're dead silent. So obviously they had to build some of the drama until they got into that display room, which was like the last one. Because obviously we heard Tess say the exit is on the very top floor. We have to walk up and out. So it's not a huge like trek. It's just be careful of what might be in here.
Right. But yeah, but obviously craziness ensues as they're doing this. There's a little bit of a cave in, and um they this is when they run into the clickers and they understand they're there. And Ellie kind of I think she either steps on a piece of glass or she does something, and the clickers obviously give chase.
I think the first one, so Joel's the one who steps on the glass at the end because he's like, okay, like he thought they were done, and he's the one like so like right before they jump out.
Yeah,
But like Ellie either
but this
exhaled or like stepped on a hand of something.
yeah. So we don't really so they're shooting, which I remember in the game they always I was trying to remember what the game said, but I know the game was like you can't shoot them in the head because obviously the fungus has grown out of their face,
Mm.
and I believe it makes it difficult to shoot them in the head. So you can't shoot them in the head. I remember that from the game. I don't know how to kill them, but in the game you can't shoot them in the head. So they're shooting like they've opened fire. They're like, fuck it, we're doing this,
Yeah.
and um, this is where I think they get separated. Whatever we're having, they're shooting. I think Joel ends up shooting one of them down, and then Tess ends up killing one with an axe.
Yeah, Joe kills one because he distracts it and like shoots it point blank with the revolver, and then yeah, he said Tess pops out of nowhere and hits it with the axe in the neck, and I think Joel shoots it with like the killing blow.
Yeah. So in the game, clickers can be killed by either using a shiv, the bow, an arrow, or crossbow.
Oh, okay.
So so I'm not. You can kill them with bullets too.
But it takes so many, it's wasting your ammunition.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's a little, or you have to sneak up on them,
Mm. Well, the shiv, I
and
could get
shiv
that.
them.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So it's like it's just more difficult. You can't just shoot them in the head. Like they're like super infected in my opinion. That's what I'm gonna call them.
But
But yeah,
yes, like I said, so they go through. Joe kills one. Tess kind of goes off on her own because she was being attacked by one. But then somehow the one who was attacking Tess, like we said, reappears and Tess isn't there. Then she is.
yeah,
Throws an
they're
axe in its head.
yeah, they kill them both. They're like, great, let's leave. Let's get the fuck
And
out
then
of
there was a
here.
cave in. Yeah, well, as soon as they got through the window out, like there was a cave in back in the room. So like blocking off in case one of them, an extra one came out, or one of them wasn't dead, they're not going to be able to follow them out the window.
No, the cave happened before. That's what drew the clickers. Because what was weird is because I thought it was weird because they got outside of the window
Mm-hmm.
and they were gonna cross apart, and Tess was like, her ankle was she hurt her ankle,
Yeah.
and Joel was hurt her ankle, and they're just sitting there with that open window, and I'm like, what if there's more? What if one of them runs through the window? Like, why are we just sitting next to this open window? Close the window. So the cave-in happened before, which is what really drew the clickers.
Okay.
But afterwards, I was like, "Girl, can you close that window?" Like,
Oh,
that was
exactly.
I was like, "Look, please." So this is where they finally make it across, and now they're going to the building where the fireflies are held up. Now, this is where you and I were confused. This is where we were like, did they know this was the building? I would assume they knew, but I don't know if they knew because Marlene said it in the first episode, or if because they just knew because they knew.
And that's where, like you said, like,
Because his brother is a firefly, so
and they've
maybe he just knew that's
obviously,
where they were.
well, and they've done runs before. Obviously, we've seen like because they know the routes, they know there's a long
Right,
way, but
right,
so maybe that's the common thing. I don't want to say Tess and Joel are part of the Fireflies, but maybe they help them on the side if they need to.
right,
So they know where
right.
some of their outfits are. So they know, like, okay, they're in this building, but XYZ. And again, that's where
They're,
I can't tell if not knowing Boston, if that's like a known building also, like a centralized building.
yeah, they're contracted out sometimes. Sometimes they have contracts.
Yeah, I could see
Maybe
that.
that's what it is. Yeah. So they get there and they're like, the truck is covered in blood, new blood.
Mm-hmm.
There's blood leading into it. It's the state house.
Okay, okay.
So we're like, obviously this ain't good,
No.
And Joel sees some of the. Is this where Joel sees some of the roots, and he like hits it with his gun, and it like just goes to dust? Is it there? Or is it the hotel? Do you remember?
The where he hits the roots was outside the library because he went up and he hit it and goes, oh, it's bone dry. Probably all the ones that were inside before are now dead. That's when he hit the roots.
No, I'm saying, did that happen? Did that happen when they found the fireflies area, or was that somewhere else?
Back at the library before they went in and saw the clickers.
Oh, the hotel, you mean?
No, the hotel was the long way, and then they left
Oh,
the
you mean the
hotel.
museum?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
The
Yes,
museum.
the museum. Yes. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Museum, yes.
Gotcha.
Wrong word.
I couldn't remember where that happened.
Yeah.
No, you're good. I got you. Thank you.
But then Joel, like, this is where he goes in to see, because he like told Ellie and Tess to wait, and he's like circling the truck before they head in to see what's going on.
Yeah, and they go in, and it looks like a little bit of a headquarters. Like, there's boxes everywhere. There's the big Tupperware boxes,
Pelican cases.
there's supplies.
Yeah.
And everybody is dead. Like,
and that's where you can see like Joel like rolls one over, because even Ellie goes, "What happened?" And like you can see, I guess maybe because one started around that like the head, like some of the fungus growing down. So I guess someone got infected.
yeah, and I guess they all started to like shoot each other. I don't know, but regardless, they're all dead.
Mm-hmm.
So probably one of them, like you said, one of them got sick, and then they all flipped out. But this is where they're like, well, we've got to figure out what our next move is.
Joel is dead set on going home.
Yeah, Joel's like, no, we're going back. This ain't cute. This ain't fun. We're going back. And Tess is like, dude, we've got to continue with this. Like
Well, this is the first time we see
we
a little chink in her armor. Like she starts having like a little bit of like rashing out, like lashing out or rash. Like she's like, that's not my home. And like she definitely has reached her boiling point. And this is when Ellie starts realizing something's wrong with her.
yeah, and then we find out that Tess is infected,
Mm-hmm.
and she was obviously bit by one of the clickers. Um, and then this is where we also see that I believe during uh the fight with the clickers, Ellie also gets not bit but scratched. Or maybe she does get bit. I'm not sure, but she gets scratched.
The part where her bite was,
Um,
she got scratched or something. But yes, it was bleeding.
right. So when Tess shows her bite on the neck, she's like, Joel, Ellie's immunity is real. Look at her arm. And the scratch of the bite that the new one was already starting to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And Tess's was already looked really bad.
It was starting to spread.
So right. So she's like, you have to continue with this. You've got to take Ellie to Frank's place. They'll take Ellie off your hands. And she's like, basically, she's pleading with him, like, I've never asked you for anything. Maybe maybe we can redeem ourselves somewhat in this way. Like, we have got to do something.
Well, and I think, and they point out in the after credits, like that she's starting to see a little bit of like, there's actually hope that there's possibility for the future with what Ellie, like with her genes and her DNA and what she's capable of having been to create.
Right. So during this moment, this touching moment, one of the infected in the room jump up. Joel shoots them, and then when that infected goes to the ground, the roots or the tendrils are kind of alive, and we see them moving around the infected's like fingers and kind of entwining in him.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when it alerts. We see that big group of infected that were laying on the ground. They all just start to get up and rise, and they, you know, fungal GPS. They're like, oh, we gotta go here.
What was it
You know?
like they call it like the wood spread or something, and the like, but it's something that fungus can do where they can like cover an entire area, and this is like actually known where if something's harming it over here, it'll sense it over here and like send reinforcements or have help come its way.
Right. So Joel looks outside and sees like, hey, they're coming.
And we got like
need
a
to get
minute.
out of here. Right. And this is where Tess starts, knocking over gas, throwing grenades on the ground. And she says to him, save who you can save. And I don't know what about that clicks it in Joel, but as soon as she says that to him, he drags Ellie out. And she's like, obviously she's screaming and she's mad and pissed off about it. And he gets Ellie out of there. And this is where the swarm breaks in, and Tess is just kind of standing back, trying to flip her lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And they're running past her and everything. And then all of a sudden, she gets the attention of one of the infected who come over to her.
Oh, just
and this is where and this is to me where I think this is. I don't know if this is how it happens. I think this is an interesting choice. Where so, regardless, the infected comes up. Like, we see the tendrils come out of his mouth, and he like puts his mouth on hers, and she's still trying to light the lighter, and she finally does, throws it, and we see the explosion as Joel and Ellie make it out of the building.
It takes out the whole first floor. I mean, literally the building. I'm shocked it didn't collapse, to be honest.
Right. And that's where the episode ends. So I don't know if this is how it happens in the game, but I thought this was an interesting choice because to me, when we see, and I don't know if you agree, but when we see zombies, when we see something like this, when we see a body snatcher type thing,
mm-hmm.
It is more times than not a horribly gruesome event. It is, ripping apart of bodies, of limbs, of flesh. Like it is very, very gruesome.
Oh yeah.
And this, and I'm going to use a word, and it's the only word I could come up with. This was very intimate.
It was.
and intimate in the way of like this infected, the way he approached her and the way he did this was very much like the reason my word is intimate is because it's almost like these two people were in love. Like this is what two people in love, like in a moment, would kiss. It'd be a slow, realizing, and that's why intimate was the first word that came to mind, which in a way makes it even more like scary.
Well,
That it's very like it's intimate. You know what I mean? I can't figure out another word. You understand what I'm trying to say?
yes, and the only thing that I can add to this, it shows to me that the fungus is intelligent. And let me explain why I think this. Because this fungus traditionally can only move and grow and progress and expand its reach with hosts. So it's
Right.
realized if you damage the host body, like what you would see in a normal zombie film, eating the limbs, just where zombies are like rabid, hungry animals that nothing is there besides the hunger. I feel like the fungus, the whole mentality is spread and take over everything. So we're going to take care of the vessels that we can. So obviously she's perfectly fine. We're going to infect her as simple as possible without hurting what she is.
And as you actually that's another take, but I've actually hearing what you said, I may have adjusted my take a little bit.
Okay.
Where because you said it's intelligent, so my brain is saying maybe they're so intelligent as to the way they turn people is based off of the reaction from the person they want to take. So in this moment, Tess isn't running. You
Yeah.
know, she's standing there. She's not really moving. So at this point, it's like you're not running. So maybe me as an intelligent, fungal, zombie
Yeah.
is like you're gonna let this happen. So that's why this is intimate. But if she would have ran, that's where it's like, okay, you're gonna run. We're gonna do this the hard way. So it's almost like they're intelligent enough to say, do you want to do this the easy way, where you're standing here
I can see
and we
that.
just do it, or do you want to do it the hard way, where I'm gonna knock your ass out or kill you or bite you or whatever, and you'll just turn and go infect other people? Which one would you like? And I think maybe it's that aspect. What do you think about that?
No, I like that. Like I said, they can recognize what's going on. We're like with the clickers, because they can't see and they can only hear, their whole instinct is just to attack whatever they hear, just for like defensive
Yeah,
purposes. But like the ones that were in the building, they had eyes. They could still see, I guess.
yeah, those are what I haven't figured out. The clickers, I still don't know yet. But I need to learn more about them. But girl, look at us cracking this code. We're obviously anybody who plays this game is listening to us like y'all fucking stupid. That's not what this is.
I 100% agree. Like there's probably in knowing how games are made, there's gonna have to be like a big bad at the end. So that's why I said there's probably like some hive mind super evolution version of an infected that can like, okay, probably like this one can control the swarm of the other ones. Like I feel like there's gonna be something like that they're gonna have to adapt from the game into the show.
I hope not. Actually,
I do too. I
I
like
hope
what
I
the
hope they
mentality of
keep
it
it
is.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the simplicity is what's so great. So I hope not. I hope that they understand that yes, it's the hive mind, but there isn't like one big mind. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of things that have that trope
Yeah.
and that do that. So I hope that that's not where it ends up. But I see what you're saying.
It's a video game. You have to be building to something. You have to, like, obviously they're building to getting Ellie to the doctors to make the cure,
Right.
but there's, in my mind, there's got to be something that's a big bad, a big enemy, something that's like
Yeah.
you're fighting against.
Yeah. I'm hoping not. But you guys, our first death. And I'm pissed because I love Anna Torv, and I was like, actually, this episode made me because at first I was like, this girl's bitchy. Like in the first episode, I was like, she need to calm down. And then the more she went through this episode, the more I kind of softened to her character.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, really already? We're already killing people? Okay. So I mean, I was actually kind of upset. I was like, oh, we'll date him, But I mean, obviously, I think I knew that this was going to happen because I don't remember her being in the game the 3.5 hours I played. But I think it was that the way she was turned stuck with me.
I texted you the moment it happened after I got done watching,
Yeah,
like a vomit emoji, like bleh,
it
disgusting.
it really stuck with me. So I think I would still give this a 7.5, just
I'm
because we
gonna,
got just
I don't know, why 7.5?
because I think this was an episode to me that really gave us kind of a more glimpse into the outside world, more information about the actual fungus itself, and then we got to learn a lot more about Tess, even though she's dead, and kind of I think I was still enthralled by the episode. I like a slower pace of it, so I didn't think it was. I mean, I guess it might have been slightly not as action packed as the first episode, but I don't think the impact was any less, in my opinion.
I'll agree with the impact. The impact was not any less. I'm gonna knock mine down to a 7 just because
Okay.
of how like ending wise, I feel I enjoyed number one more. Like after watching number one, I was like, okay, yeah, I get what you're going for here. After watching this one, I'm like, I'm still waiting for the next episode, but I'm not like chomping at the bit to watch. I'm chomping at the bit because of who the next like big actor they're bringing in to the show is more than the plot. Like I just enjoyed the first episode more, so I'm gonna knock this down to a 7 for me.
Okay, cool. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I get you. I get you. So yeah, episode 2, Infected. You guys, let us know how you're enjoying this. Are we getting everything wrong? Don't spoil. If you guys want to comment on our social posts when we post this episode, like let us know. Are we on the right track? Is this stuff new? Like I really want to know like what's new, what's not. I ain't know the differences. Actually, I don't need to know. It's fine. I don't need it. That's fine. I don't need it.
They tell a couple like if you watch the after like credit scene, they tell that there's definitely was some differences. Like the swarm coming after them, that wasn't actually in the game. They said that in the after credit scene.
Oh, I didn't watch that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. All right. Well, you know what, you guys? We will have a regular episode this Monday coming up on That 90s Show from Netflix. Awesome. So tune in for that. And we will talk to you all very, very soon.
All right. Bye. You've been listening to Watch or Not with Jay and MJ.
Interact and give us suggestions on what to watch at watchornotpodcast@gmail.com.
You can follow us on Twitter at watchornot_pod.
And don't forget about Instagram, you guys, at watchornotpod.
Don't forget you can support the pod by joining our Patreon at Watch or Not with Jay and MJ.
And subscribe and leave a review wherever you guys listen to podcasts. Talk to you soon.